Spear of the Wu-Tang Clan. Welcome the RZA, everyone. Take your seat, yes. And is Mr. Barclay here? Is he? Okay. And yes, Gerald K. Barclay, the co-director. We also want to bring him out. GB, coming out the audience. He was like, let me watch my joint one more time. Get that big screen experience. Give it up for our co-directors. Yes.
They ain't give me no mic, yo.
Oh, man.
Hey, yo, is it Friday night in here? Yeah! Well, y'all make it feel like so. Get some Friday night energy, yo. What it be like, yo? Let's get it up, yo. You know what I mean?
Yes. All right. Well, actually, the first question is for you. So, in the film, you talk about how hip hop wasn't even deemed real music. But what I found interesting was that the conductor did not have that feeling or that experience. That for him, it always was music to him. It was always real to him. And to me, that speaks to the influence of the group over time, right? That it has created a shift in the historical memory of what hip hop is, right?
Yeah.
So how does it feel to know that Wu-Tang has changed hearts and minds about the genre itself?
I mean, it's a blessing. You think about, you know, we are New Yorkers, so we got hip hop in his birth in 1973, and you know, I heard it first in 1976,
Right.
and we grew up, but it was definitely, you know, shunned. Couldn't even play it in clubs at one point, right?
Right.
So then to see a generation like Chris, I think Chris is probably like, you know, 1990 he's born.
Right.
You know what I mean? So he's born with hip hop has laid some ground down. And so for him, it's always been music, because by the time he's 10 years old, he's able to hear it and listen to it with his sister. And that's not just only a testament to Wu-Tang, but, you know, first of all, we celebrating 50 years of hip hop, so respect the Cool Hope, Grandmaster Flash, you know, the Cold Crush Brothers, Force MCs, and of course, I could go down the list, but, you know, at one point, you know, they had to, you know, plug into a light pole just to get electricity to do hip hop. You know what I mean?
Just to practice the culture, you were risking arrest. You know, like even though it was supposed to be a way to resolve conflict, you run the risk of getting caught up in the system just trying to practice your own culture, right?
Yeah. How many of us got chased just writing graffiti? You know what I mean? Got a VGF in the building, VGL. But point being made, yeah, so, but it was a blessing when, you know, to hear that, you know, even Chris and some other people in the orchestra were younger, and they grew up hip hop, and they actually, you know, love Wu-Tang, love Nas, love the whole, you know, Dre and Snoop and all of them, and they was excited to sit there and be able to play with us.
They look real comfortable in the Wu hoodies.
Yeah.
They look like they were like, yes, we should dress like this more often. Yes, at work. All right, so Gerald, I want to turn to you briefly. Talk a little bit about the tactics, right, around making this film. How long did you shoot? How many cameras were there? What was making this concert documentary like in terms of the structure of it and the time it took?
Sure. We pulled it off. I think by the time we got to this, I had been seasoned working with the Wu, so I got a call from Divine, which is RZA's older brother and our executive producer. G, get it together, we gotta go. So I jumped up, pulled the crew together, and we were able to get out to Red Rocks a couple of days before the concert, and literally we shot 3 days there, and we were able to shoot like another 5 days, I think with the interviews and everything else. So
people came in early, or they hung back after the show to do your confessional interviews?
No, these were done. We were doing it while it was happening.
Okay.
And then we ended up doing some pickups, because the key thing was to get the show, right? It was capture the show, we'll figure out what we're gonna do later. So when I got back, I put together a small cut, and I think we cut the trailer and sent it to him, and he was like, okay, let's move forward. So it just went from there.
Nice. Talk about the rehearsal process. I love seeing you in those meetings, right? So, you know, what was the exchange between the musicians, the conductor, and yourself, like as you were pulling set lists together and thinking about the fact that the movie's behind you and all of that?
Well, for me, I was fortunate enough to have done a version of this over and over, so I had it all in my brain already, so I just had to translate it to everybody else, including GB. We were talking about like, yo, I wanted to shoot it. We gotta have the football camera to come down across 10,000 people. I was like, we could get a drone. But you put we put the zip tie on the front of the stage. If you notice that a lot of those frontal shots, because with the zip tie going across the front and then a dolly countering it, gave you a lot of editorial choices and a lot of GoPros. How many GoPros was there?
Yeah, you asked about how many. We shot 14 cameras in and around, and then we had 3 documentary cameras roaming around. I think I have one of mine. That's Brad right there. Brad was my #1 camera guy. He was with me, man. We got everything. He came in at the last minute and we pulled it off. But in total, I think we had about 17 cameras filming this stuff, including cell phones too.
Yeah, so
my favorite camera was the 360. We just dropped that right in the middle, and you got to see everything.
Right, so he didn't answer that. I want to make sure you guys know there was a lot of cameras behind the orchestra, cameras on some of the music stands, because we wanted to capture the whole thing and capture the energy.
Yes, and I love the way you captured nature and environment, right? So I'm sure that was some drone work for the panoramas, right? Beautiful. I have a question about YDB, right? Because it was beautiful to see, Wu-Tang second generation, right, as integrated into the clan, right? So can you talk a little bit about how that happened? And I mean, he's been performing with y'all for a long time, but what was that like? And was that part of y'all's collective healing, in the loss of his father? Like, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, YDB, boss son, that's my family, so, watched him grow from a baby to a man. When he wanted to be part of music, of course, the first place was to come back to the family. And when we, seen him, I forgot the first time we gave him a chance to just try to do like his father's parts. He may have done it like on his own. Like, it came out one day at one of our shows, and I think we used to do Shimmy Shimmy Ya, and some of the Dirty Children would be there, and they'd come, and we'd do it, and some of the cousins would come, and they'd just take over the stage, and we let them have their moment. But then I realized that he himself was embodying his father's energy. He's an artist who's striving in this industry as an MC, as a creator. So it was a blessing for him to be part of the journey, to be here in this part of the Red Rock. As Method Man said, sometimes it could bring tears to your eyes. And we just did a whole New York State of Mind tour.
Give it up for the tour. Who went to the show? All right, Nas and Wu-Tang.
Those last 20 shows that we just did in North America, he was at every one of them. And it was uncanny watching him embody his father. He actually did one show, let me say one thing about him. So he did one show, he had his father's mask on the back of his head, right? And his face, and he'll just do it and he'll just turn around and just stand there with one hand in the air. I just like, it's if you're lucky in life to have a second generation or to even have a career that long that a second generation can rise up and help carry on the torch, be appreciative of it, and we know it's a blessing.
Yes. Give it up for YDB. R.I.P. ODB. I definitely was moved because it was like I was watching him. The hair, the mannerisms, his voice, everything. It's so uncanny.
Sometime in New York City, you see Dirty was the first artist to walk on that stage in front of billions of people and just take over the Grammys, right? Of course, Kanye did it later, inspired by ODB, as he told me personally, I got that from Dirty. But when you think about New York City and you hear some of the stories about Old Dirty Bastard and some of the crazy things you hear, sometimes you think that, oh, maybe Dirty was drunk, or maybe Dirty was high, or maybe this, or Dirty's doing that crazy shit and moving like that because he's on some type of substance. But when you see his son have the same energy, the same wildness, the same movements, you realize, no, it's genetic, it's him, it's his style. And even as a family member, I can attest that watching Barson do it, who's sober, you don't drink, you don't smoke, and he's just sitting there doing all the zany moves and craziness, that means that it's always Old Dirty's style. It's his own genetic. It wasn't infused by nobody. As he would say, there's no father to my style. Well, he's the father of his own style, and now his son possesses it.
Yes, it's like a transference, right? Yeah.
Okay. So documentaries, right, they take a lot in terms of post, right? Because what we filmmakers say is that when you make a movie, you really make three. The one you write, the one you shoot, and the one you cut, right? So talk a little bit about the post process once you have all of your stuff in the can.
Well, this was very difficult because, and the process was collaborating with RZA and figure, okay, how can we tell the story? The key thing is the performances are so dope. Do we build it and just bring the performance at the last 20 minutes, but then you're gonna miss the entire show? So we had to figure out a way to integrate the story with the performances, and then it all builds up to triumph. So that was the hard part. So we did 25 versions, for this is version 25, of the film. But it was cool because it was during COVID. We utilized Zoom to go back and forth. He had a busy schedule and we were able to pull it together. I had a strong team of people working with me to try to get everything kind of flowing. And he was great in terms of giving me direction on certain things because everything was built around a stage show that he had masterminded, a year before. So I needed to stay true to that and then go into developing the story elements. And as we went on, I convinced him to let me go and shoot more interviews. And oh yeah, Gina memorized every word said in this film, Gina Barbosa. She's my story producer. And then I have my guy, Demetrius Cheeks, up there. He was a persistent producer in every meeting.
Stand up, we'll give him a round of applause, brother. Yes, thank you. Gina here?
He got us here today. And then I got my co-executive producer up there, Gano. Gano camped out with me in a hotel in LA, and we sat there for days cutting this film and presenting it to RZA to make sure it was at his level that he wanted to present. And I'm still, you look at some things and I said, okay, I'll have to tighten this up and that. But bottom line is, it is what it is. I wanted to give you a sense of what it was to be at Red Rocks, but at the same time, kind of build and tell you what the backstory was, because we were on pins and needles because we thought something is going to go wrong.
Right. So at any point, did any of the songs in the set list get re-recorded for the purposes of the film, or did you let the show run continuous and then work with what you got?
Yeah, there's no re-recordings.
So it was all live all the way through, and that's what you're experiencing on the film.
Yeah.
Great.
One thing I sort of thanks GB and the whole team. I've watched it on the bigger. This is the biggest screen I've seen it on, and I realized that most people are not going to ever go to Red Rocks. All right? You're not going to get there, especially if you live in Europe or you live somewhere else. So this film is actually cool in the aspect of it actually not only have Wu-Tang in a unique position and a unique place. The place itself is unique. And I think those early drone shots when GB and the team, they was like, we want to go on a few days earlier, which meant another chunk of the budget, right?
Right, you didn't talk about was it weeks, was it months, and we didn't talk money either. So.
Right, but they went in. It cost a few more G's, but it paid off. So I just want to thank you for being persistent about that. That's sometimes they say two heads are better than one. Most times you see it's one director, but two heads are better than one because somebody else can see the other side of the coin that you don't see, and that gives you a panoramic. You know what I mean? So thanks, GB.
Many top 10 hits, #1 album with Wu-Tang Forever on Billboard. With all of the global success that you've had and all of the exposure that you've had individually and collectively, is there anything about Wu-Tang Clan that you would like for this audience to know? Because clearly there are super fans here, right? And there are also people who love cinema here. So, what is something that no one ever asked you that you're like, man, I wish somebody would ask me so I could answer that?
Wow, I don't know. That was a big setup.
Okay, maybe talk about the Brotherhood, right? Is there something about your connection or, the fact that over 30 years, this number of men with their own lives have been able to continue to come back together, right?
I feel like life is linear, but then it's parallel. If you could follow me on that, right? It's linear, parallel, meaning we are all in this room are traveling together, but then it's cyclic as well, because you go through different ciphers, right? So, and I would say for me and for my Wu-Tang brothers, as we traveled this together, and there was some parallels and then some lines crossed, I think we always added on to the cipher. What I mean by that is that, if you could get to 10 and go back to 1, that's complete the cipher. But if you could get to 10 and add a 0, that's 100. Add another 0, 1,000. Keep adding. So we added. Mic check, but that was a blowout, huh? Yeah, so we added on to the cipher. The one thing I would say, hope y'all do know about us. I hope y'all really do know this about us, is that we care for you, care for the people. And I think sometimes if you look back at what we've done and said, we did it for the people. You know what I mean? We really, if we would have been 20 years earlier, we wouldn't have made it through this, because they would have said, they would have got rid of it, right? But to sit there and let creativity be unfiltered, to go back and check some of the lyrics and some of the musical choices that we made, it was to continue to expand consciousness, expand hip hop. I always believed that hip hop was the greatest force of music because of the way that it hit me. And I was disappointed when I saw that we became like crabs in a barrel, everybody fighting for the same thing. And so I left hip hop and went to Hollywood and to put hip hop into them and then come back, you know what I mean? And you look at Method Man or you look at Old Dirty or Ray and Ghost, you'll see that each step Wu-Tang is striving to expand what hip hop can be. You could get it in a comic book, you could get it in a video game, you could get it in a pair of sneakers, you could get it in fashion. It was because we felt what hip hop was, we wanted to share it with the world and wanted the world to grow with it. And so know that beyond the success of it, our goal was really to give it to the people for enlightenment of the people. And hopefully we got some people that got enlightened from it.
I wanted to thank Urbanworld for giving us this platform. Stacy Spikes.
Stacy, yes! The founder!
He let me play my first movie in his conference room 20-something years ago, and we're here now. Congratulations on it. I want to shout out your staff and everyone here that gave us this platform. I want to shout out Benny Boom, who's another music video director.
I'm gonna go 3, 2, 1 countdown for you guys.
Sure.
Focus on one of them.
All right.
Come over here, come over here.
Yeah.